Welcome back to class, everybody. I am Ethan from the Weebology podcast.
And I am your actually pretty hungry Professor Ricky.
Oh, you're hungry?
I am hungry. I had breakfast for dinner, my dude.
Would you say you're hangry?
I wouldn't. I would not. We were just
Look
kind
at
of
that. Let's softball.
we were talking about, getting hangry, and I know a lot of people who claim I get hangry. I get angry when I'm hungry. I don't know how people have the energy when they're hungry to be angry. It's such a resource-heavy emotion, right?
Look.
Yeah.
I can get angry from the drop of a freaking hat. And if people are getting in my way when it comes to eating and fulfilling my, satiating my unending hunger, then of course I'm going to be hangry about it.
I can see if you have a clear path to satiation and food, and it's obstructed in some way.
Let's just pretend, right? We're at like
no, don't bring this back.
A hotel with a continental, right?
Okay.
A full bloody continental.
A full English.
Yeah.
Delicious.
And let's just say in this weird scenario, somebody comes up to me and says, "Let's talk about anime instead of eat."
Literally face shove
into the freaking the little dispenser that has cereal like every
the crunch
click
thing. Yeah.
By the way, I love those things.
Do
I
you
feel
really?
like a lot of people should use those for a lot of other things.
My Fruit Loops become Fruit Seas.
That's fine.
Every time all the fun about Fruit Loop is loop. They put it in the name.
Oh, you're such a poor little child.
I was
Here's the
sheltered on the loops, my dude.
I get it, but here's what I'm going to say. So a lot of those cereals, when you crush the shit up, right, the little loops.
Okay.
Let's just call them loops.
That's what they're called. I don't know what else to do.
I just feel like we should call them loops.
You should. That's
colloquially. Because of course they're not called loops.
Off the record, unofficially off the record, they're loops, I guess.
Yeah. When those get crushed up and put in the milk,
okay,
it becomes like sugar milk, and then it is infinitely better.
I will say most fruity cereal, like bottom bag dust, is milk magic. Like it will.
Well, bottom bag dust is straight up sugar.
right. Oh, that's the secret sauce.
My favorite is Apple Jacks, bro.
Dude,
bro.
I would fuck up some Apple Jacks. Oh, right now.
Let's go buy some Apple Jacks. We're actually gonna not do this episode.
Shut it down. Hey man, it wouldn't be the first time we ate that pizza with Daniel mid-episode.
That's true. That was awesome.
We set the precedent. So at some point,
what's your favorite cereal?
Ooh, that's a rough one. All time, maybe as a kid, I had a huge affinity for honeycombs. There's some big ass pieces.
Very interesting.
Yeah, big ass pieces.
I feel like that's one of those that had so many ads when we were kids, and I haven't seen a single ad in years.
Do you fucking remember that scraggly ass creature that was the honeycomb? What was that? Was that supposed to be a bear? What was that?
It's either a bear, a bee, or a honeycomb.
So it's the living embodiment of a honeycomb.
Of course.
If it were to grow
the
fangs.
essence of honeycomb.
Distill honey far enough.
Fangs?
I guess it had like claws and fangs, maybe. Are you going to give it a search?
Yeah, why not?
I like it. We'll you know what? I don't have to put a picture up on anything. YouTube gang will see this picture front and center. This thing is horrifying. But I will say, while Ethan is looking up the horror that is the honeycomb mascot. Oh no!
What is that? You're totally right. I forgot. He's nuts.
Buddy, look at that. What is that animal? What's it supposed to be emulating? I
typed in honeycomb monster and there's like 1,000 results.
So they clearly call it a monster.
It's a monster.
It's a cryptid. It's alluded to exists, but outside of commercials.
Jesus Christ. Some of these are terrible.
This thing is not cool. I don't like this.
I want to know what it is though.
But everyone knew about it. Everyone was hype on it. You remember honeycombs to this day because of something that
Crazy Craving.
His name is Crazy Craving.
Yeah, he's a marsupial-like cartoon character who rabidly craves honeycomb cereal.
So he's like a knockoff.
Me want honeycomb!
He's like a knockoff Tasmanian devil.
100%.
So honestly,
wow,
that's a good end to a tangent because that's
so
a horrifying thing. But hey, man, it made you hype for honeycombs. It made me hype as a kid for honeycombs. And looking back, that hype and reality just don't measure up. And the show we're talking about today.
I'm actually going to throw one in before we do that.
Why would you do this to me?
Because this is only for 90s kids.
Uh-oh.
Only 90s kids
Only
will like
90s
this.
kids will understand
only
this?
them will like this. Did you guys ever eat Honey Smacks?
Oh, yeah.
Remember how it was in that, like, metal foil bag somehow?
Yeah.
And you could never open that correctly? It would always tear, like, 90% of the bag?
Is that the one with the bear that looks inebriated?
It's the frog. It's the frog.
So what was the bear? There was a bear that had, like, glazed eyes.
He was clearly
stoned. He was clearly stoned out of his freaking gourd. What I was saying before, to bring it on back to anime. This is an anime podcast.
Only 90s kids would get that, though.
I like the only 90s kids. But hype, reality, sometimes there's a huge gap between the two. You're right. It's the frog.
The dope-ass frog with the backwards hat.
So I would say we have learned today, thanks to the fucking crazy cravings, that hype and reality can differ wildly. And the show we're talking about today, honestly, I think, in our eyes, kind of had that gap. We are talking today about the fresh
Cocoa
off the
Puffs
presses.
And all the people
what
that
is
are
wrong
cuckoo
with you?
for them.
I keep trying to get this
We're
train back on the
cuckoo for
rails.
Fair enough.
But I like that you've got me fixated on inside here. I'm thinking about honeycombs. You got me there, at least.
It's just that Apple Jacks are so good.
Here I come, I am cinnamon.
Here I come, I am cinnamon.
You know, I'll let you introduce the show we're talking about today.
Yeah, so today, since we're talking about basically the differing expectations from hype and reality,
yes,
we are going to be talking about one of the most hyped, absolutely, shows of the year. Tower, just kidding. God of High School.
Good switcheroo there. Yes, the 2020 summer MAPPA show.
2020 summer jam, frankly.
It's a summer jam. And, you know, give MAPPA the credit where credit is due. They have had quite the streak lately of just show after show, and they all seem to be really, really fucking good. I mean, Dora Hetero, what are the other ones they do recently? They did not Tower of God, right?
No.
They recently did a couple that were big.
Well, MAPPA was
we watched one recently.
Great Pretender.
Great Pretender. Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, like, and
oh, what am I eating? Great question. It's a Mapple from MAPPA.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to set up for a while.
That was you set that one up for a mean hot second.
Yeah.
But yeah, so MAPPA's had some bangers. And this show came on the scene. Previews were coming out. Everyone was hype on that manwag goodness. We just got off of Tower of God.
Manwag goodness.
It is. And my goodness, Tower of God, I mean, it really sent it for, you know, I would say a big budget like Crunchyroll can provide was, you know, they gave him the first foray into manhwas. And I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the first. I think it was the first given the love, the distribution, and the publicity like this. And then everyone's like, oh, this is what Korea has to offer in terms of source material. I can't wait to see what comes next. And then boom, Crunchyroll and Webtoons put their name on all of God of High School. I mean, product placement even inside the show.
Constantly. All over the place.
And Ethan, I guess just high level, how did you feel about the show overall? Because I felt it fell short of that hype, right?
Yeah, I mean, the show, like, they did a lot right, and they did a ton wrong, in my opinion. And I feel like when you hype a show at, like this, like, has gotten, which,
yeah,
you know, you can't go on Crunchyroll without having God of High School blasted in your face. You can't even go on YouTube without having it somehow recommended to you, which I don't even understand.
Yeah, right.
And like just the amount of hype and stuff, especially coming off of a show like Tower of God, which I think deserved the hype and met it.
Mm-hmm.
But then to come to something like this, and like the idea is really cool. It's just like the execution, I feel like, is all over the place.
I guess for me it's interesting that you said like they did a lot wrong. I don't know if they did. They had a handful of stuff that they didn't execute very well, in my opinion. But I would say that, you know, I went in with much different expectations because Crunchyroll, it was as if, Crunchyroll came out of like the pitch room just all like riled up and just like grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and said, hey man, you like fucking fights? You like fists? You like plot? Well, fuck you. You're getting this instead. And they shoved God of High School down my
I'm sorry, do you like JoJo's?
Yeah, do you like JoJo's? Do you like
It's a
Baki?
big meme.
Yeah, you want a big ass meme? Well, we got a fat, thick one for you. And, I guess just kind of like to give you the very 10,000 foot, 60-second summary. You have, these characters that are all competing in a tournament called God of High School, and it takes place all over South Korea. And basically, it's little pocket kind of entry tournaments to get into the big Bad Daddy tournament. And, we kind of followed the Seoul division and then into the main, like, nationwide tournament that's of the God of High School. And they go through in, like, individual fights and the 3-man team kind of things. And that's really it as far as a plot goes. Like, for a setup. I wouldn't say the whole plot. Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of things I thought that were weird about that and the show in general. So I just wanted to say before we, like, really, really, really dig in, like, I don't think there's a way to review a show like this without having, like, a fair amount of, like, spoilers and at least, like, main plot points, because that's really where my criticisms will show up.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go ahead and say, like, I think you'll enjoy it whether you've seen the show or not, this episode. But if you also don't want to be spoiled, then go watch God of High School and then listen to this episode.
And here's the thing, man. Like, I think a lot of other shows with a plot kind of taking a front seat in some capacity gives the show enough runway that we can really talk. You notice how in some episodes we can leave the spoilers until the very, very end?
Right.
And some that are so kind of upfront. That, I think, is indicative of how well-written plot happens, right? That you can talk about a show for a long time, really get in the nitty-gritty, and save all the good stuff for the very end and still give a good picture. When a show like this, it really felt like, I don't know, they didn't just put the plot in the back seat, they tied it up and put it in the fucking trunk. Like, there's no real plot here.
Yeah, and I mean, like, through the first half of the show, like, first 7 episodes, you're like, who gives a shit about this tournament?
Yeah, right.
Because, like, it doesn't seem like anyone in the tournament cares, to be honest, and nobody outside of the tournament really gives a shit. It's just like all the spectators are like, ooh, they're fighting, cool.
Yeah.
And they do this terrible job of telling you, the audience, whether the Chakryok or whatever they're called.
Chariok. I thought I just kept calling it chakra in my head.
I want to say, I'm not opposed. Chakryok, whatever. I'm just gonna definitely say it differently every time I say it. But the Chakryok, basically, we don't know whether they're actually visible to normal people or not.
That is true.
We also don't know if it's a physical manifestation of, like, a spirit, or is it like an imbued move.
Right. And you couldn't really tell from a spectator standpoint in the actual show when people would bust out their artichokes left and right.
Right.
And then like the audience would react to this big explosion on screen, but there was no indicator. No one said, was that just fucking lightning, dude?
So that's the dumbest part. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to like super spoil
Ethan's
it.
like critical mass. We're going to go off on the rip and spoil these things.
So last episode.
Oh,
I know.
You're going deep. Okay, this is spoiler. We're already in spoiler city, but we're going deep on this bitch. Let's go.
This isn't like a major spoiler or anything, but there's this kid who watches something that goes down, and he says, "Look, Mom, 2 dragons." And I'm like, "Oh, so they can see them."
You're right. I didn't even notice.
But it was the fucking clouds that were created because of his move, and I'm like, how can you? How dare you? How dare you show your caricature like that?
Right.
And not like say that the little kid can see it. Like I was actually like genuinely pissed off.
Really?
Because I'm waiting the entire show to just be like, can normal people see this? Because like what I'm worried. Remember the god falling from the sky? It's like, did they see that?
Right. So okay. Right. So
like, what's happening?
Did everyone basically just see like 50 nukes coming at
That's
nothing?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my god. The
show has plot holes like bigger than the plot.
And okay, so we brought up the
more
artichoke.
holes than plot. That's what I should.
There's more holes than plot for sure.
Pretend I didn't say that other thing.
No, that was really smooth, dude. That was a good in.
Oh, thanks, man.
You're so welcome. But we brought up artichokes, which is pretty dope, which is the power system, obviously, because we can't pronounce the real one. So from that henceforth, I'm calling it their artichoke.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they had all these cartoons, different ones that do different things.
Exactly.
And it's just like
some artichokes are stronger than the others. You know,
Right.
it's just how it is. But you know, before we go into the power system, because I have a lot of problems with the power system.
what power system?
Yeah, right. It's a very, very soft power system. But our three main characters, I actually did really enjoy their charismatic energies with each other, and they gave each three of them specifically very good backstories for why they fight. And if you're gonna write, this is a fighting anime first and foremost. Things like Baki, Karen Ashura, you need and basically fight-centric anime where the entirety of the reason why the show exists is about fighting. Your plot may be thin. Baki's arguably, we talked about in past episodes, is quite thin in the first 2 parts of that first season. Now, the way you compensate is to give backstory for why the fighters are fighting. And I think this show did a good job with the trio, I think, of just the 3 main folk.
Right. So I want to quickly make a point before we move on from the technique, kind of like martial art technique kind of conversation.
Sure.
Like if you want to rack and stack these 3 shows, Kengan Ashura, Baki, and this show, this show seemed like in the beginning it was going to be super heavily like invested in the actual real life techniques.
And I was so here for that.
And Kengan Ashura and Baki both are extremely like interested in the techniques. Obviously, Baki's techniques are more realistic to a lot of like, they take 90% of like real martial arts and then they'll throw in like vacuum palm or some dumb shit on top.
Yeah, like the grotesque, but it was on the outside of reality.
But it was like still like all real stuff.
Yeah.
And then this show was hyper realistic.
Right.
They made a few mistakes here and there, but very realistic.
Right.
And then way off the fucking deep end for the rest of the show. So I would say if I had to stack these 3, and Kengan Ashura is like, they're not real techniques, but they're all technique, like very technique centric, right?
Yeah, right.
If I had to rack and stack between which one like cares about the techniques that they make and which one doesn't, this is last on that top 3
by a
there,
wide margin,
by like an insane amount, and it's only because they like literally lose the lead midway with like what they're doing.
I think the peak, like the tipping point where I realized it was gonna go kind of southward,
was how rushed everything felt.
Of course, but Tai Chi guy, he was peak. Watching Tai Chi guy fight.
Tai Chi guy.
The guy who was a Kokendo or whatever his name was. He was the guy who the shark dude broke his fucking arms on.
Oh, fucked his shit up.
Yeah. And he came up with the Tai Chi. Watching him fight was a joy. And I almost thought at that point that this show was going to go way of Kuroko no Basket. Hear me out. Where it's clearly, in Kuroko no Basket, they're playing basketball, but the moves are just so anime, right? Very hyper visualized. The powers aren't actually there. Like, there's not a fucking laser beam with, his Kuroko's like fucking slat pass. That's not there on screen, but it is for the viewer from a visual standpoint. I thought that's what we were going with this.
Well, that's what I said earlier. It made it so annoying and difficult to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and then once they pulled out their artichokes,
right,
everyone, it went full stand JoJo. Like, completely.
I mean, when you got Krakatoas out here just like doing wacky shit, like what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, we're in the power system. We can talk about characters here in a little bit, but did you like the designs of the powers themselves?
That was sick.
Yeah, they were cool to look at. Yeah, that's my only.
And like they drew from a lot of like, mythologies that we have talked about within Japanese. And then also kind of an idea I've been kicking around is the Chinese Journey to the West, which is basically the Chinese version of the Kojiki that we talked about.
Yes.
And so a lot of these characters that we see come from that actually.
Right.
Like specifically Jin Mori's character comes from
Saiki Tenzin.
Right. Yeah. The Monkey King.
Yes.
Comes from Journey to the West. So does Ginkaku and Jinkaku.
Yes.
Kinkaku and Ginkaku.
So something I wanted to postulate, and I guess make an inquiry about.
Postulate me, sir.
Yes. So it is explained in this show that the powers that these people have, great, weak, or anywhere in the middle, are in fact borrowed powers from who they claim to be the gods.
Hi.
So, like, I didn't quite understand what that meant. They did a really bad job of the mechanics on, because people would just suddenly, like, get them, right? And they made a big fucking deal about how people just couldn't get them, and there's a rigorous training process, and, like, people worked for years and still could barely use it, and blah, blah, blah. Like, Straight Jacket guy could use it very limitedly, kind of, and invoke it, kind of. It was just, that's the part that got me all riled up, because, like, there was, like, so much pomp and circumstance about these powers, and I'm like, okay, cool. Training arcs and other seasons. Maybe we can show off the commissioners could have them because they're veterans in the space. And then they just start fucking popping up left and right. Hated that.
Yeah. So
I hated that.
This show has a massive power like escalation issue.
Bro, they brought gods in like episode 4 or 5.
I mean,
what do you do with that?
I mean, what do you do? Man? Literally from episode, I think it was 10 to 13 was all about God stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, like, they didn't bring up the Nine Tails in freaking Yu Yu Hakusho till episode, like, 60.
Yeah, give me that, please.
At least.
Yeah, and you can allude to it, but that's something I guess we've talked about, you know, power escalation and power systems in the past. This show, at first, I was excited the way they're embracing it. Like, you know what? They said, Shonen's got escalation? Fuck it, we'll escalate to the exponential degree. Who cares? We'll do it. And then they didn't know their own angle of trajectory, right? They just fucking...
No, they do. That's a problem. So this story is really all about gods and stuff like that in the future.
Yeah, of course.
Like, looking way forward.
Okay.
The problem is they started off with a little, like, martial arts tournament, and they had to somehow get it within, like, striking distance of, like, a million gods fighting in the god realm. You know what I mean?
In
like
13 episodes. Yeah.
It's honestly... I honestly view this as like a near disaster because they don't really know. It feels like they're like skipping over all the stuff we want to see, which is the first 5 episodes. There's all these fights going on, and we see like maybe a minute of each fight.
Yeah, right.
In fact, the first episode was so jarring to me. Remember, he like does that awesome elbow and knee clamp on the guy's
fucking
foot?
Awesome,
sick as hell.
Yeah,
and then I start the second episode, and I'm like, what's fucking going on? Like, it was like they teleported away and all of a sudden they were like behind the scenes doing something else. I'm like, did it end? Like, what happened to the fight?
Right. Oh yeah, I remember you even bringing it up. Like, dude, what is happening right now?
I was so lost. And so that was annoying. Like, all the fights, I really wanted to watch every fight because like I'm still in the mode where like, oh, this is gonna be a martial arts show.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm going to really enjoy watching all these, like, cool guys do cool martial arts stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they really quickly will either go, like think about how many fights of this tournament we really watched. Like, max 4 or 5.
Yeah, 5 or 6. And
there was, like, 70 real matches.
Right. So we saw a minuscule fraction of all of these, right?
Yeah, and like I obviously I don't want to spend time watching like construction man fight you know high school girl like all this time, but like,
yeah, right,
it would have helped to build some of the characters up that they were fighting, right? Like, other than Ilpio, and I'm gonna be honest, didn't feel all that like scared of Ilpio either, but none of these other like enemies that they were coming up against really got much like, they weren't built up at all. So then when Jin Mori and the gang try to go fight them, it's like, who cares? Also, what do these guys even do, you know?
That is true.
Because like, if you think about it, in the show, the character is seeing all these other fights, right?
Right.
So they have like more information
they
than
got
us
knowledge.
by
Right.
a lot.
Of course.
And so when they like feel nervous about a fight or something, it makes sense for them. But for us, it's like, I just saw you do like some wild shit. Why would I be worried about anyone you're about to fight?
I just saw you bust out a new technique every single fight.
Exactly.
So, like, there's no tension for you. I know you're literally built to overcome this. What you said was interesting about they had to go from martial arts tournament to striking distance of gods in that time, and that is not even the ceiling of this world.
Right.
Why? And I think the plot, the little that they had, which I argue that there was no plot, there was just world building, and I think there's a staunch difference between the two. Progression of events and opening up knowledge of the world as it stands right now are very different things, and this show, I think, confuses the two. I think them doing world building is pretty cool. Learning about the gods is pretty nifty, and seeing that people can invoke those powers is pretty nifty. That for plot, it does not make. That is not a progression of events. That is letting you know the world that already exists. But Park Majin, is it Mujin or Majin?
I believe it is Mujin.
Mujin. Yeah, Park Mujin, the basically the head commissioner of this tournament. We find that his main goal is to find the guardian of something called the key. Now, the point of the tournament is to gather the strongest individuals in this country together to try to find who is worthy of this key guardianship to basically suss him out. Why in the world would you then basically start invoking God shit when you could have basically had all of these promising individuals be that person, and we're kind of left in the dark a little bit and just say, like, could he be the one? Could he be the one? But Ilpo Park, or whatever, just out of nowhere, just fucking like, here I am, haha. There's just no, I don't know, there's just no time for the show to breathe. And it had such good hope, like, promise.
Well, so that's what I was going to mention, is the pace was unbelievably fast.
Weird, right?
Like, I agree with you. I felt out of breath. We were getting through so much so fast.
Yeah.
Like, when we got to the end of the tournament in episode 4 or 5, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
And well, can we please, if we're talking about pacing, talk about how poorly dropped that wedding episode was?
Terrible.
So I get the purpose of that inherently. This fucking cult's trying to get her because she has basically she's the successor to a sword and a style of swordsmanship that is very important for the overall lore of the story, but it's so ill-conceived and so weird to put there.
I was having a unbelievably hard time figuring out if this was something that happened in the past or was currently happening until, like, Jin Mori showed up, and then I'm like, okay, now I know it's, like, happening. I
could see that. I didn't feel that confusion, but I just assumed, I assumed present. That's all.
Because remember, he runs up to her in the beginning of the episode, like, literally hits her with his car or something. It's like, you're beautiful. I want to marry you. Let's get married. Like, I was like,
you deserve it.
I'm like, no fucking way.
You deserve it. You deserve
me. He proposed, and then 3 days later, they're at a wedding. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So it couldn't be right.
Right. So yeah, it was fishy from the get-go.
100%.
So
do
we have anything good to say about the power system?
No.
Cool? No, you really have nothing there?
They explained it zero.
Okay.
Like, I know it was intentionally unexplained early, but then, like, we start getting God shit, and it's like, maybe explain it, Parks, you fucking moron.
So the source I caught on with, the only gripe I have in terms of explanation is the acquisition. How the fuck? Like, there is no acquisition. How did Dale Han, how did he get any of his? The acquisition part is what pissed me off the most.
The source is also bad. It's from, like, all over the place. Makes no sense. Since when is there a like, what is the Omega God? Like, what was that shit about?
That was weird. It was very weird.
So tell me what the source of that was. It just doesn't make any sense. If they explained,
was that his artichoke, or was that actually God?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. And then, like, the 6 were really weird, but really dope.
Alluding to, I know that's kind of like a group.
It's your
thingy. But I liked it too. The way they did it was very good.
It gets my dingy.
So when someone said that they're part of the 6, that grandpa character of the other guy who, like, mutated, like, him saying, I'm one of the 6, and then pulling the shit that he did, that's good illusion. That's great. So next season, which inherently there will be because the hype just gave them cash, buku dollars in views. But when you hear the 6, you now have I'm in for this.
I mean, it's how I felt every time I heard about the 10 great wizard sayings.
See, it's and they did a good job there. I would say that they alluded to some of the members, but you don't know all of them yet.
Right.
Yeah, you're left in the dark.
Well, we only found out one at the very end of the show, the very last episode. One of the 6 shows up.
Right. We have 2. We have 2 6s.
No.
The grandpa figure, the guy who teleported everybody. No, that was the old guy. The other old guy who was like the maestro grandpa. The one who tweaked all the nukes, he said that he is one of the 6.
Teleport guy.
And then the progenitor of the human race.
Yes. Park Musion.
Oh, he's one of the 6 too?
Yep.
Oh, shit.
The guy who trained Mori with acupuncture.
Oh, the old guy with one arm?
Guy with his grandpa.
Oh, yeah. Taijin Jin? Or that's the
Taijin.
Yes.
And then the guy who, remember, he was like teleporting weapons. He was basically,
the guy with like the cool kind of bucket hat. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's your 6.
So they didn't even leave any of that to mystery.
No, but it didn't show up to the last episode. So I was always the entire show. I'm like, who's the last 6?
Okay, that's cool.
Also, they showed up at various different times. And really, until the big ass battle, did most of them show up?
Right, and
that was the first time we saw them fight.
Yeah, I had recency bias for that one. I totally forgot like the first 6, the first part of the 6.
Yeah,
and I always see. I guess that maybe
it was just funny you didn't mention Park.
That's fair. That's on me.
Mujin.
Yeah. Okay. So I know it sounds like we're knocking the power system hard. Yes. We need to, as professors with accolades.
I think it's because we don't understand it.
You don't think we understand it?
What I mean, how can you understand it? They explain 0 of it.
I think that's what this show is. It's like Netflix came out of a pitch room, just all tweaked out, grabbed me by my neck and said, "Hey kid, you want some fucking fights? Because that's what you're gonna get. Don't think. Just push my face into the screen." And for someone who wants to turn their brain off and watch some really good visuals, Mappa did a good job in the visuals.
Gorgeous show.
Fantastic show. Creative designs for the powers. Cool power, abilities were there
100%.
too. 100%. Very creative. So if you look at the boxes that it checks on that level, visually gorgeous, interesting, wide power abilities and designs, and you have fun character designs. It was based on a manhwa which had a very interesting, unique art style for character structure and design. They had like the rosy ears and the
ears bad, nose bad, but other than that, great. I like the cool. Sound design was really good.
Sound design was great. Cool eye shit. Some people had some really cool eyes.
Star eyes.
Star eyes. Let's go, baby. So if you look at the boxes that it checks, this is a show for someone who's like, yeah, like fucking shonen, and I don't give a shit. And Crunchyroll was like, okay, we're gonna feed you the syrup equivalent, like Coca-Cola syrup equivalent of shonen, distilled, sugary,
pure sugar.
Probably gonna kill you if you put too much of it in one go. But yeah, if you scratch under the surface, though, as us professors must, scratch a little under, you find a little bit of shallowness in this, at least this first season. That's where I'm at with the power system.
So that's what's so frustrating to me. I don't really care about spoilers. I looked it up. I'm just not gonna lie to you guys.
Oh no, I kind of care. Like I would like, and I have a reason for that. Okay.
I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying it makes sense once you get there.
Okay.
It's just like, why start a show? Like, I just don't understand why they chose to start where they did. If they knew where they were headed, and it's like 90% of this manhwa is related to like gods, and like crazy shit going on.
So is where we are, because a lot of times
we're basically just now at the beginning of the show.
Gotcha. Okay, because we are an anime podcast through and through, and that sometimes could allow some manga fans out there, or I guess manhwa fans out there even as well.
Because everyone bitches at us, manga fans.
I guess people do bitch at us sometimes.
Literally constantly. It's actually ridiculous.
But, we only have the knowledge of the anime itself. So, is this, Ethan, a byproduct, an issue of the manhwa or the anime itself where it started and how it paced itself? Like, does the manhwa do this shot for shot as well? Do you know that?
Tough question for somebody who has no clue.
And we keep forgetting that we can't read, which I guess is worse than just not being able to read. We also can't remember that we can't read.
Yeah, it's like honestly a compounding issue.
It's exponentially growing and it's killing us slowly. But yeah, so I do wonder, is this just a rush prologue? Did Crunchyroll just take a prologue, or could they have stretched it out, and was there more material in the middle? Was there more of those preliminary tournaments? Was there more to the main tournament?
What I'm wondering is, was this originally supposed to be 13 episodes, or was it originally supposed to be 24, and they knocked it down to 13 for COVID?
That's a very fair question.
Because imagine if this was half of what we were supposed to get for a season, how much they could have slowed this down and made it better.
And here's my thing. If this is the pace they wanted, I would even have bought that, because the way that they ended the season to lock in that long haul makes me a little bit more hopeful for the future of this show, at least from a plot and story standpoint. At the end of the show, spoiler town, but like you said, we're already past that point. You know, Jin Mori's grandpa was taken, feared for his power, tried to recruit by a cult. When he said, literally, double deuce, fuck you, he said, okay, fine, we're just going to take you out then. And he said, hold my fucking sake, and then just like mollywopped everybody. But numbers finally overpowered him, and he's been taken. So Jin Mori has a quest. That's dope. He knows where to go next. That's dope. And he knows why.
How does he know that?
Because he was told by the progenitor of the human race that when he was knocked out, to find more about his memories and his artichoke, he needs to go to the place where the hero, or the being he's borrowing power from, originated, his homeland. So that's why at the very end of the episode...
Yeah, but that was not related to Taijin, I didn't think.
No, they just showed that ending
Taijin
scene.
just in like a dark little basement still?
Right, but he basically, I need to get stronger to get my grandpa back.
Gotcha.
We have the typical shonen.
100%.
Yeah, father figure is gone. He's locked in. Right,
Yeah.
That's how it goes. But yeah, we're on characters. I mean, who of the three was your favorite in that little trio? I know mine.
I think you have to like Jin just because he's that like nice kid, really like kind of energetic, funny as shit, a nice guy, really like goes out of his way to help. But he did get a little exhausting. Like he was just almost too much of that shonen pro tag that's like all over the place but has tragic backstory.
He looks like Ty from Digimon, but like exaggerated.
Yeah. But cool.
For me, it's got to be Dai Han.
Yeah, Davey was definitely cool, and he's my
favorite.
His actual martial art was definitely the coolest.
It was dope. Like from the rip, without his artichoke, he had like big banger moves. He was the bruiser and the tank of the group, and the reason why he fought, I think, was the most compelling of the three.
100%.
Like made me actually, of those three, I gave a shit about Han. Like I actually cared.
Yeah, I mean.
I
thought it was fucked up they let his friend die. I'm just gonna be honest.
It was really fucked up. Like literally, So he fought to save him, and he could have been given the nano. Okay.
Park Mujin is a dickbag.
He's a dickbag, and he owes his shit to those three now.
Yeah,
honestly. I will say, very small, probably in the scheme of things, but bringing up those nanobots. Really convenient way for everyone to be basically super regen.
Yeah, get fucked every match but still not die.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty smart though.
See, that's the thing. This show is full of black boxes, dude. Some of them were smart.
Yes.
Some of them were not.
There's ex machinas around the corner every 5 minutes.
And
he's dead? Just kidding, nanobot.
yeah. Arms.
Oh, they killed his whole family? Just kidding, they were doppelgangers.
They were dupes.
Yeah,
been
like
duped
what
by the dupes.
the fuck is happening?
So I mean, that only lays credence to this show trying to pitch you one idea only: fights with godlike superpowers, and that's all you fucking get.
My favorite character for sure though was Q.
The
guy who kept getting fined with one of the commissioners.
At the end, he was like 75% of his paycheck down for the next decade.
Yeah, but then, in that last battle, they were able to make ridiculous amounts of money for
It's like 10 million a head.
Yeah, the bounties were nuts.
There's like hundreds and hundreds of them, and it says 10 million a head, go to town. And he was the most realistic. There was that point where he was looking on a guy who used to get paid millions a year, had so many like deductions in his paycheck for the year that he was looking under vending machines by episode 10 for fucking
quarters.
Quarters.
He's like, I found a quarter. Yay.
I love that shit. That was fun. But yeah, man, like favorite. I actually, as much of a dickbag as he was, I liked Park Moojin.
So his character design was unreal.
Fucking great. Definitely
made him look like he was important.
Hunter x Hunter.
Crollo. Yeah, Lucifer.
Yeah, Lucifer.
So he has demon horns in his hair, basically.
Yes.
But he's wearing that massive, what I would consider like Buddhist palm, like massive beads thing.
Yeah.
Leading to a massive cross. And then he's got that super sick ability.
He can
Buddhist palm
somebody, and he basically from his desk squash an island somewhere else like a fly. Very Buddhist, very Buddha, 1,000-hand Buddha style. Like it was, I liked it. That was a bummer too, because that opening scene, like that got me hyped for the show.
I was like, what is going on?
This is awesome
so
as fuck.
Why is there this big ass palm in this island?
Can you? Who had the coolest power? I kind of thought the Shark Boy was
Jigale.
Yeah, Jigale. He was a little OP even from the start, right?
Well, like he was like had the ability to create shark teeth
from anywhere,
like anywhere, including inside your body. It's like any power where you can literally start something inside someone's body.
You're fucked.
Is too OP. Yeah. It's like, what's even the point of fighting them? You cannot beat them. And then he doesn't pull it out and then fights where it would like genuinely matter. I don't know, man. So this show is really beautiful, really cool, all that stuff. Lots of cool powers, stuff like that. But it's just like, it's almost so fan service and not fan service like yes, sexually or anything. In fact, I thought it was very good on that front. Like nothing too nuts.
Interesting.
But it was fan service like, you want a power fantasy? Because that's literally all there is. This is only power fantasy. There's not even like a hint of a plot.
I would almost say it's even worse in power fantasy because you can straddle a power fantasy, a really obvious and
it's like we're at Super Saiyan God in the first episode, and I'm like, what's fucking happening?
Yes, this is a shonen fantasy. This is straight up. This isn't about a power fantasy where someone is like a legit badass from early on onward, but they've strapped a world and decent characters around it. This right here is distilled shonen essence from episode 1 to episode 13. And if you basically are willing to live on that surface level, you're probably going to have a really good time.
100%.
Yeah.
More power to you, honestly.
Yeah, and you can't have more power than this show. I mean, it's just so much fucking power.
I mean, this is absolutely one of those shows where you turn off your brain and you just enjoy the pretty fights and stuff and cool powers, and you're going to absolutely love it.
We watch this week over week, but this is beyond bingeable. Like, you don't even... It's almost so bingeable that you might get whiplash and not really know what just happened, but you know you enjoyed it. In a weird way.
Well, I think that just really plays to how like absurdly paced it was.
I would say that that is its crime. Is the pacing was so odd. But like I said, I do have promise because
I how can you get to your Kaguya fight literally in episode 13? Like I think normally we talk about shows that should be 13 episodes and that were 24. This is one that absolutely should have been 24 and was 13.
There are so many places where you could have added content, even if it wasn't in the source material, and it wouldn't have felt like milking it at all.
I think if they had definitely focused on the source of the charcoal or
artichokes.
Yeah, and all how you like get the charcoal.
Yes. You gotta get your charcoal on.
How you basically use it, right? And then explain whether people are seeing it or not.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, is it actually happening? Like, that would be super sick.
Yeah,
the reason I think it must be, but can't be, is that when you remember the first time we ever saw charcoal was Q. Big clown guy comes out and just slams our boy Jin into the ground and leaves this big divot.
I thought we also saw it from Straight Jacket guy because he could use a little bit of it. And
when you said that earlier, I was gonna let it slide. I have no clue what you're talking about.
So remember, basically, he kicks and that purple wave comes out, and the two commissioners, because he busts out. That's when he's next versus Tai Chi guy, and he basically busts out of his straitjacket and twists his fucking arm, and then Jin steps in, kicks him to the wall. Two commissioners come in. He has this flashback about how someone told him he can't use a chalk zone, so then he kicks the purple wave at them, right?
Chalk zone?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your artichoke, your chalk zone. And the commissioner's about to do something, and then Commissioner Q gets his head bounced on by Jin, and he stops it with sheer reversal or revival taekwondo, and he does his first triple kick. I literally just outlined like the second half of that whole episode. Yeah. And
so I don't recall this, and that might be part of the
probably part of the problem, right?
Yeah, it's like that couldn't have been more than 5 seconds.
No, that was like the last third of the episode, but that's really it. Like,
no, I mean the actual purple thing.
Oh yeah, no, that segment.
But wait a minute, we didn't know about charcoal brains at that point, so how could I know that was a charcoal?
It was said in the flashback because he wanted power. The chick with the backpack came and talked to him, and then there's second part of the flashback, they're on a roof for some reason, and she's like, you're a little bitch, you still can't use your artichokes, and he's like, fuck me, I'm strong enough, and then he goes nuts and kicks the purple wave of chino pants.
Okay. Huh. Okay, well, anyway, the first fully formed one that we saw.
Yes.
I can't believe that was all just to try to tell me I was wrong about when we first see it.
It wasn't wrong.
When we first see a freaking Krakow.
But I think it's important
Q, when he smashes him into the ground, right, and there's this big divot and big thing, I'm like, he didn't physically touch him, so like, how do you, as an audience, see somebody just like,
right, and
then go boom into the ground really heavy and not be like, well, what the fuck just happened? So that's the only thing that really leads me to believe that they can like totally see these things. Yeah, and then also like the end fight with the god dropping from the sky. Mm-hmm. Like, it would make no sense if all these people are like, why did we just get teleported out of the city? And why is there 50 freaking nukes flying toward this thing?
Exactly. I found it weird that every person that set eyes on these things were no more flabbergasted at a Chernobyl.
Yes, thank you.
At everyone's Chernobyls than like just, oh my God, did you see that? No, fucking time out. Yeah. That's a superpower. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, he just summoned shark teeth from midair. What is going on?
This isn't like Naruto or any big threes where like the power systems are known. Like, some people can mold chakra. Okay, seeing it is really cool and awestruck, but it's not like literally world shattering. This should be world obliterating for people. Like foam at mouth and ears and eyes. Just like, this is, I'm never gonna recover from this.
You want to know my next huge thing I didn't like?
Okay.
Jagal.
Oh, yeah?
His normal charcoal power was cool.
Yeah.
And then he's got this secondary, like, thing attached to him. They don't explain. They don't really even mention. They just show it happening. And you're like, what is this thing?
Oh.
Why is it sucking up his soul? Why? Like, what the hell is going on?
So could he also absorb? Yeah, because could he also absorb powers? I guess.
So you remember that guy who adopts him?
Yeah,
apparently has that power, but is able to pass on charcoals to Jiggle. But we've never seen that happen before or after that.
All for one technique. I see.
And so my brain's over here like, you're not going to explain these things at all. You're also not going to explain how this guy can transfer one to this guy. You're not going to explain basically why he feels inferior. Like, it was just so poorly written, bad, like, final character And then he, grabs a key, whatever, and becomes this god. And you're like, we have no context to believe that that's what would happen with the key.
Right.
We have no context to believe, like, really any of this is, like, true gods. Like, honestly, it's just been, like, an absolute escalation since the start of the show. Like, what happens next episode when turns out that, Jin Mori's version of a god is a little bitch compared to the real gods. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
It's going to be weird, man. I genuinely think that this is just a rushed prologue for a show for an audience of people who want to scrap away with the basically the niceties and the explanations of any kind of shonen. Like, it's a show built for shonen folk, but they basically did a prologue season, and we're just getting this accelerated high-octane insanity. Now that all that shit has been shoved into our brains, we got the picture now. I think season 2 and onward could have a little bit more depth. I mean, we're going into what they call a training arc. The characters say, like, it'd be a great training session. We're going to go find out more about Jim Mori's powers. We're going to kind of further ourselves in the overall goal of getting his grandpa back. And we'll see what the hell happens with... What? Didn't they say they're going to take over the Korean presidency?
Yeah. Oh, my...
What the fuck? What? That was weird, too. Because you know the way the park put it?
The final episode, you can't do shit like that. I'm sorry, you just can't.
Because he's sitting there at his desk with all his commissioners like, the god of high school tournament was a marginal success. You guys know what we have to do next. And everyone's like,
take over the world.
We're going to go basically get the Korean presidency. What? What the fuck?
And then they showed the guy that got away, Mundiok or whatever, Mandarak, was literally like being confirmed as president. I'm like, what's happening?
What is happening?
None of this makes any fucking sense.
So, all right.
Okay, how about this?
Okay.
Remember the guy summons God, it's falling from the sky, and it explodes? Is it dead now? Like, can he never use his shark yolk again?
Yeah, his artichoke is burnt, buddy.
They didn't explain that.
And he had a hell of an artichoke too, dude.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he could summon the army of what is perceived to be heaven?
That's what this is just like, it's just such a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess from a story perspective, but why, oh why, can I not say I seriously hate this show? I don't hate this show, and I will watch season 2.
I don't think you hate it because it's literally designed to be enjoyed. And what I mean by that is like, it's absolutely candy. The fights are cool and pretty. Mappa never disappoints in terms of like animation and stuff like that.
Very true.
And so, you can't outright hate something like this.
Yeah.
I hate the plot. I think it was complete garbage.
Yeah, sadly, since we only have season 1, we can only evaluate it on season 1.
Well, it gets nuts. It just, like,
okay.
I knew it was going to get to gods. I didn't think it'd be in season 1.
Right, okay.
But all I can say is after this, it gets way crazier.
Okay. And if that's a show built on that, I'm excited to see, this show as a set. Come 5 years from now or 6 years from now or whenever they manage to hopefully adapt all of this, it would be nice to see this as an anthology of like a whole collection, an epic, if you will. And maybe it'll evaluate better. Maybe it will. Maybe it will.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, now come...
And then they didn't really explain like Jin Mori being a god, like I just don't want to see how you end a season like that and just like leave everything open. They've closed 0 things.
Right. And they've given a sliver of a path forward for major players.
I think it was just a big ass tease.
It was that whole first season was like, you
exactly.
want it? You want it? I'll go fucking get it.
They're holding the bacon strips over our face. And like, you want these? And you're like...
And then you're the dog, and then they threw it off a cliff.
Right.
And you just jump on after it. I trusted you, and you just keep falling. All the way down. Forever. Essentially forever. So the time has come. We've ripped on this show a lot. Where would you put this show on a rating system? I know.
I will go for 72 assholes out of 100.
Okay. I'm going with 76 artichokes. I'm a Mappa sucker. The animation was
72 charcoal activated toothpaste out of 100.
Can someone please give us the phonetics of how to pronounce this power system, please?
So
Like the true phonetics.
The anime compost guys were saying it definitely right because Korean.
Okay, fair.
I swear it's Charkyok.
Charyonk.
I would be okay with Charyonk, but there's no N.
Is there no N in that whole thing?
I think Sharyok.
Sharyok. Okay.
Why not just say Sharingan? I mean, let's be real.
I'm sticking with artichoke. I'm going with that.
I liked that you said chakra because I'm sure it's similar.
I assume that's where I was getting it.
Well, I guess Shinzu is the.
Oh.
Isn't that?
Shinzu.
I'm pretty sure that's the Korean version
of chakra.
Yeah.
Charyok just seems closer in
I think that's
English
the closest
spelling.
you said to it to being right. Charyok.
Charyok. Okay.
It's a bad word. It's a bad word.
It's a bad word.
They could have called him anything else.
Yeah, I mean
your keys, your
I'll look it
alliances, your
yeah, your I don't know, gates.
That would be dope as hell.
Yeah, it's your gate to God. Holy shit.
God Gate.
That's awesome.
New show coming in 2021.
God Gate. Written by us after we finish Say Yes to the Dress, obviously.
Say yes to the dress
in our Housewives of Tokyo. Oh, I think that's it. I know it sounds like ragged on it a lot, but I mean, 70s honestly is where this belongs. It's makes sense. And,
And I want to know if somebody... So, Charlie, Moist Critical, rated this an 80.
Okay.
And I think it's mostly based off the visuals and like how fun the show was.
And that's usually where I sit. If I ever go a little higher than you do, it's probably because I put a lot more emphasis on visuals. Like, I can suffer through a MASH show that looks fucking gorgeous than a MASH show that looks meh, obviously. But if it's like, that disparity for me is even higher. Like, I'll be like, okay, I'm a lot more forgiving on that. But everything else sucks even more if the visuals are meh. So... yeah, I honestly,
but anyone that rates this a 90, hit us up because I don't see it.
Yeah,
and I'd love to know where.
Yeah,
what I'm missing because, like you said, you scratch a little bit below the surface and there's really not a lot there. It's like
this is also a great gateway anime for people who like shonen. Hold on, there isn't. Well, that's the thing, right? The bigger of a fan you are in a fandom, the more you're going to start finding the tropes and seeing these glaring issues. This is one that gets you introduced to the animation style, not a lot of fan service, wacky as fuck power system. So you're getting inundated with off the rails shit that isn't going to be super off-putting, right? Like, give someone a more Ichi-esque fan servicey anime, it'll turn them off to anime way more likely than a show like this with a crazy ass fucking power system. But everything else seems pretty surface level and traditional. Like, I mean, they're gonna be like, if they can even follow the minutia of this show, any other plot they're gonna be easy to follow. Like,
I think if I was gonna suggest a gateway though, I'd like it to have like a relatively tied up plot. Like, I feel like The Great Pretender of recent episodes is much more solid. Maybe even, Misfit of Demon School, because that literally was a fairly solid plot, ended in 13 episodes. I feel satisfied.
Harem wasn't crazy, and fan service was pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think I'm satisfied with that as an answer. I'm satisfied with Classroom of the Elite as an answer, to be honest. I value plot a little bit more.
Okay.
And at least in making general sense, and pacing's a big deal to me.
Okay.
If you like super fast, I'm worried a new person would have a really hard time following along, because it's not like it's easier for us because we've seen 200 plus anime, 300, 400, 8,000 plus anime.
Yeah, that's lowballing it.
And we've seen insane power scaling. We've seen crazy shit happen.
We've seen end results of where power systems go.
So it's
awry.
we have frames of reference for stuff like that.
Okay, that's a good point. More specifically and refined definition for this show. If someone were to come back to me and I give them something with superpowers, and they're like, "Bro, I fucking love that superpower shit."
Well,
there you go. I think this is not a gateway, but this is This is a show after they've had that first degree of entry. And they're like, oh, I really like this. I really like that. That's super cool. So all things considered, this show was fun. But for the seasoned anime fan,
it was fine.
It was. You're not gonna walk right home to Ma about this one. You're not gonna write home to the pops. You're not gonna write home to
blow
grandma.
your tits off.
Yeah, it's not gonna blow your tits off. Hey, grandma, guess what I watched today? It's a fucking Korean-based Japanese cartoon that I know you're gonna love, grandma.
All right, rated against Tower of God. Tower of God definitely better, right?
Crushes. Oh yeah. The forefather stays that way. This is a little disappointing because I am the one in episodes past that said, you know, if God of High School can keep this tradition of super underscoped quality things coming out of manhwas being adapted in Japanese markets and animation studios, then we have a trend on our hands. But this didn't quite hit the mark there.
I still think this is going to be good for manhwa in general. I think it's definitely going to have a lot of ratings and stuff like that. People are going to still want to watch season 2, stuff like that.
And maybe this is where hype comes in a positive light.
Could be good sales. You never know.
Yeah. The hype got people looking.
Mira.
Yes.
Handewi.
Jin Mori.
Eyeball boy.
Eyeball boy. But
all right, folks.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I'm done with this topic.
Fucking done here. But thank you all so much for coming to class. If you want to listen with your eyes and your ears, hello, YouTube gang.
Hey, bros.
Good to see you back in the lab every week. If you want to listen with your ears and not your eyes, I don't even know how you'd listen with your eyes. If you can, write us at weebologypodcast@gmail.com, by the way. Yes. But if you want to listen with just your ears and have us tickle the audio senses, go listen to us on Spotify, Google, Stitcher, CastBox, and anywhere else. Apple, yes, obviously, and anywhere else you get your podcast fix. The biggies, of course.
Of deuces.
Yes. If you want to give us any kind of review, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and give us 5-star and written reviews on Apple so we pop up on others' recommendeds.
Yeah, because it's honestly a shame we're not like the most well-known podcast in America right now.
Yeah, but
it's honestly like sad about that.
I feel like it's on you guys at this point.
It just seems like Joe Rogan, like, he's okay.
He's pretty decent.
Look,
best.
He's okay.
Okay.
But, like, has he watched God of High School and thought it was a 72 out of 100?
Has he suffered through the shit that is Ari Ferretta?
I mean, like, does he even try?
I mean, I don't even think the guy's ever seen Pastel Memories.
I guarantee he
doesn't do it for his fans like we do.
Yeah.
Man. But if you want a little extra eye candy, I got to get back in the Instagram game, which is at weebology.podcast. We do sometimes have memes on news and sometimes giveaways, but I'm trying to be on the up and up more about the meme game. I've been finding some couple memes. I need to post more memes. I know people like the memes.
Yeah, it's just right now, a lot going on, folks. So,
a lot going on,
I mean,
frankly.
I'm sure this is probably everywhere, but with like some of the COVID stuff kind of ending as the year kind of comes to a close, people are going to be rocking and rolling all the rest of the year, and it's going to be, I'm thinking fever pitch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For me, I'm fucked.
I know your schedule is razor thin
fucked.
Margins. Yes.
It's going to get worse.
Mine are getting there too, man. But, you know, new clients do change around for the fourth quarter. Hopefully things lighten up for me so I can make memes. Really experiment. What else we got?
Yeah.
Weebology, at WeebologyP on Twitter. I'm trying to get more on the Twitter stuff. You know, we're trying to get better on the socials.
Are you? Because I am not currently.
No, I'm trying to be more present on Twitter, but I don't know how you say tweet. I'm not a good tweet.
I've never twatted, okay?
I'm not a good twatter, all right? It's just not how we be. But if you would like to be one of our patrons, if you have monetary love to give, only if you can, patreon.com/Weebology. Come join us over on the Discord. $1 and up gets you on that Discord game, and $3 and up gives you exclusive access
to the syllabus sidebar.
Yes, the non-anime, sometimes anime,
highly rated #1 show in America.
Pretty much
for you, by us,
with us, for you.
Syllabus
with
sidebar.
You? Yes, syllabus sidebar. Come on down and listen.
But don't look that up.
Yes, don't look it up. Just trust us.
Don't look up the rankings.
Yeah, #1 in America for
For You by Us.
Pretty much For You by Us. Yeah.
So it is number one in America.
Yeah, of course. For You by Us.
But we're not. There's no rankings out there. Is all we're saying.
Yeah, just don't look it up though. It's important it's important to us you don't look it up.
It's important to me that you know that we're right, but also not that you look it up.
Your grade actually is riding on your ability to not research.
I mean, do you not trust your teachers?
Yeah, they say that Silver Sidebar is number one show For You by Us. I don't know. So, but you know what? Until next time in the classroom, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Ricky.
Oh my God! And this has been Weebology. Deuces. I'm staring at myself right now. Holy shit! The YouTube gang is going binoculars.